They took a shortcut and found a town that shouldn't exist. The tire blowout hit like a gunshot. Ryan wrestled the wheel as the car fishtailed across the empty highway, gravel spraying, headlights swinging wildly across the tree line, before he finally brought it to a grinding stop on the shoulder. His heart was hammering so hard he could feel it in his teeth. Beside him, Caleb was already out of the seatbelt, breathing fast, hands pressed flat on the dashboard like he was making sure it was real. "You okay?" Ryan managed. "Define okay?" Caleb looked back at the shredded rear tire and laughed the way people laugh when they're 1 second away from losing it completely. "Spare? Used it in Memphis, remember?" Caleb turned and stared at him. "Please tell me you're joking." "Do I look like I'm joking?" They were 6 hours from home, somewhere in the middle of nowhere. No spare, barely any signal, and it was 20 minutes past midnight. Ryan pulled out his phone and opened the GPS. The nearest town was 43 miles back. But as he stared at the screen, the map glitched, the whole display scrambling like a television losing its signal. And when it came back, it showed something different. A route. A thin gray line cutting sharp off the highway into what looked like solid forest. No road name, no distance, just a pulsing blue arrow pointing left. "There's something that way," Ryan said. Caleb looked over his shoulder. "That's not a road. That's a gap in the trees." "GPS says different." GPS just glitched. "You want to stand here until sunrise or you want to find help?" Ryan was already pulling the car forward, limping it on the blown tire toward the turnoff. The sound was horrible, a rhythmic thudding, metal on asphalt, but the car moved. Caleb grabbed the handle above the door and held on. "This is how people die in movies, you know that, right?" "Good thing this isn't a movie." He turned left. The trees swallowed them whole. Whatever the GPS had identified as a road was barely one. Cracked asphalt, overgrown at the edges, branches dragging across the windshield like the forest was trying to grab them back. The headlights carved a narrow tunnel through the dark, and everything outside that tunnel felt alive in a way Ryan couldn't explain and didn't want to examine too closely. Then Caleb grabbed his arm. "Stop the car." "What?" "Stop the car, Ryan. Look." He stopped. There in the headlights, maybe 50 feet ahead, was a sign. Wooden. Old. Letters faded but readable. "Welcome to Raven's Hollow." Ryan leaned forward. "You ever heard of this place?" "Never. And look, no population number. Every town sign has one. That spot is blank." Ryan stared at the empty space beneath the town name. Caleb was right. The blank wasn't faded paint or wear. It was deliberate. Like whoever made the sign had decided the number didn't matter, or couldn't be counted. Ryan drove through anyway because the tire was gone and there was nowhere else to go. Raven's Hollow opened up around them, and the first thing Ryan felt was awe before the dread kicked in. Because the town was beautiful, in the way abandoned things sometimes are. Every building intact, every storefront preserved, a diner and a barber shop and a pharmacy and a church standing perfectly straight under the moonlight like they were waiting for their congregation to return. String lights hanging dead across the main street. Flower boxes on windowsills with flowers that should have been dust 40 years ago. And not a single person anywhere. "Hello?" Caleb's voice cracked slightly as he called out the window. It echoed once off the buildings and died. Nothing. Ryan stopped the car in the middle of the street. There has to be someone. A town this maintained doesn't run itself. Ryan. Caleb's voice had dropped to almost nothing. "The diner. Look at the diner." Through the diner window, clearly visible, plates on the tables, half-eaten food, a coffee cup tipped on its side like someone had knocked it over mid-conversation and never came back to clean it up. Ryan's skin went cold. Then the radio exploded to life. Pure static at first, loud, aggressive, filling the car. And then underneath it, a voice stretched thin like taffy pulled too far. "You shouldn't have come here." Caleb slapped the radio off. "We are leaving right now." Ryan threw the car into reverse. The engine revved, the wheels spun, and the car went nowhere. He floored the accelerator. The tires screamed against the asphalt, but the car held completely still, anchored by something invisible and absolute. What is happening? He's there. Caleb's voice had gone flat and strange. Ryan, he's right there. Standing in the road ahead, a man, tall, impossibly still, wearing clothes from another era, collar shirt, dark slacks. He was staring directly at the car with eyes that caught the headlights wrong, reflecting them back like an animal's. Ryan leaned on the horn. 3 long blasts. The man didn't move, didn't blink, didn't acknowledge the sound at all. "We have to talk to him, Ryan said. "Are you out of your mind?" "He's the only living thing we've seen in this entire town, Caleb. If anyone knows a way out..." Ryan cracked his window before Caleb could argue. Hey, we're stranded. Our tire blew out. We just need directions back to the highway." The man's head turned, not fast, slow, mechanical, like a gear turning that hadn't been used in years. It rotated toward them at an angle that made Ryan's stomach lurch, too far past the point a human neck should allow, until the man was looking directly at Ryan through the cracked window from 50 feet away. Then he raised one arm and pointed east, toward a building at the far end of the street. A hotel. Hollow Inn spelled out in letters above the entrance, and beneath them a vacancy sign glowing red in the dark like a wound. Ryan rolled his window up. "Hotel. I heard. Someone's in there. Or something." "Caleb." Ryan looked at him directly. "We have no tire, no signal, no way out that we can see. That man just pointed us somewhere, and I don't know why, but I think we have to go." A long silence. Caleb looked at the hotel, looked at the man still standing motionless in the road, looked back at Ryan. "Together," he said. "We go together, and we don't separate for a single second." Agreed. They ran. The hotel lobby grabbed them with stale air and the smell of old paper and something faintly metallic underneath. A front desk, a staircase, a guest book lying open on the counter like it had been left there specifically for them. Ryan read the last entry aloud. November 14th, 1983, Room 7, the door in the basement. Follow the painted arrow. Don't look back once you start running. Caleb read it again over his shoulder, then a third time. Someone left this for us. Someone left this for whoever came next. Ryan closed the book. Basement. They found the door behind the front desk, a narrow staircase leading down into dark so thick it felt textured. Ryan went first with his phone light, Caleb so close behind him their shoulders were touching. The basement was small. Bare concrete walls, a water heater, a fuse box, and on the far wall, painted in red that had dried long ago, a thick arrow pointing to a section of wall that looked identical to every other section of wall. Caleb pressed his hand against it. It moved. A door, no frame, no handle, flush with the wall, swung inward on a rusted hinge. Beyond it was the highway. Not a passage leading to the highway, not a tunnel. The highway itself. Their highway, night air and wind and the smell of exhaust and pine, real and cold and immediate. Their car was sitting on the shoulder exactly where they'd left it after the blowout. Spare tire mounted, engine running. Music playing from where they'd left it before the GPS glitched. Ryan stepped through first. The concrete beneath his feet became asphalt. Caleb came through right behind him, and they both stood there in the open air breathing like they'd been underwater. Neither of them spoke for a long time. Finally, Caleb walked to the car, opened the passenger door, and got in. Ryan followed. He sat behind the wheel and stared at the road ahead, perfectly normal, perfectly lit, perfectly real. He put the car in drive. He did not look in the rearview mirror, not because he was afraid of what he'd see, because he was afraid he wouldn't see anything at all, and somehow that was worse. They drove until sunrise without saying a single word, and for the rest of his life, Ryan never took a shortcut again. If this story had your heart racing from the first second, you already know what to do. Hit that like button, drop a comment telling me what you think was really inside Raven's Hollow, and subscribe so you never miss a story. New ones drop every week, and they only get more intense from here.